The camera fades in on the bright, cheerful set of Lorraine Kelly's morning show, with the audience applauding as the host, Lorraine herself, steps out in her signature colorful outfit, smiling warmly at the viewers at home and in the studio. She welcomes everyone to another episode, chatting about the day's headlines, from celebrity gossip to feel-good stories, setting a light-hearted tone that's become her trademark over decades on British television. Today, she's excited to introduce her special guest, the outspoken journalist and broadcaster Piers Morgan, who's here to promote his latest book on the state of modern media and journalism ethics. As Piers walks on stage, the crowd gives a mixed reaction as some cheers, some murmurs reflecting his polarizing reputation. Lorraine greets him with a hug, joking about their long history in the industry, and they settle into the plush sofas for what promises to be an engaging interview. Piers, dressed in a sharp suit, holds up his book cover for the camera, explaining how it dives into the challenges facing news reporting in the age of social media and fake news. Lorraine nods along, asking softball questions at first, like what inspired him to write it and his favorite anecdotes from his career. The conversation flows smoothly, with Piers sharing stories from his time on Good Morning Britain, his clashes with politicians, and his unfiltered takes on current events. But subtle tension brews as Lorraine probes deeper, asking if he thinks morning shows like hers have lost their edge, becoming too focused on entertainment over hard-hitting news. Piers chuckles, saying that while he appreciates the variety, there's room for more substance everywhere, including on shows like this one. The audience laughs, but Lorraine's smile tightens just a fraction, hinting at underlying discomfort. As the segment progresses, Piers elaborates on a chapter from his book about how presenters sometimes prioritize likability over truth-telling, using examples from various programs without naming names. Lorraine interjects with a laugh that's a bit forced, saying, "Oh, Piers, you're not talking about me, are you? I've been doing this for years, and people love the mix we provide." Piers assures her it's general commentary, but she presses on, flipping through a copy of the book on her lap, pointing to a specific passage on page 147 where he describes fluffy morning hosts who avoid controversy to stay in the good books. The panelists, Debbie Watson and Marcus Hill, try to lighten the mood with jokes, but Lorraine waves them off, her tone shifting from playful to pointed. "Piers, be honest, this is about me, isn't it? You've always had a chip on your shoulder about shows like mine succeeding while you storm offsets." Piers raises an eyebrow, defending himself by saying his book is about the industry as a whole, not personal attacks, and that if the shoe fits, perhaps it's time for reflection. The exchange heats up, with Lorraine accusing him of jealousy over her enduring popularity, and Piers retorting that true journalism involves tough conversations, not just tea and chit-chat. The audience gasps as the back-and-forth intensifies, the once friendly chat turning into a verbal sparring match. Lorraine's face reddens, and she stands up abruptly, declaring, "I've had enough of this. If you can't respect me on my own show, then you can leave." Piers, taken aback, refuses at first, saying he's just answering her questions honestly, but as security approaches subtly from the wings, he stands, shakes his head, and walks off, muttering under his breath about unprofessionalism. The studio falls silent for a moment before Lorraine composes herself, apologizing to the viewers for the disruption and transitioning awkwardly to the next segment on cooking tips. Backstage, the crew buzzes with shock, whispering about how unprecedented this is for the usually affable host. In the aftermath of Piers Morgan's dramatic exit, the show continues, but the energy in the studio is palpably different, with Lorraine forcing a smile as she introduces the cooking demonstration, her voice slightly higher pitched than usual, betraying her rattled state. The chef on set notices the tension but plows ahead with a recipe for festive holiday treats, while the audience claps politely, though many are checking their phones, no doubt already tweeting about the clash. Cut to social media reactions flooding in real time. Hashtags like #Piers vs Lorraine and #Lorraine kicks out Piers trending on X, with users divided as some praising Lorraine for standing her ground against Piers' infamous bullying tactics, others slamming her for overreacting to constructive criticism. Commentators online dissect the moment, replaying clips where Lorraine's accusation peaks. "You're just bitter because my show doesn't need controversy to thrive." And Piers' sharp reply, "And yours doesn't need substance." Apparently, media outlets pick up the story quickly, with headlines blaring about the fiery clash on morning TV, speculating on whether this signals the end of Piers' welcome on ITV programs. Back on the set, during a commercial break, Lorraine huddles with her producer in a side room, venting her frustration. "He came on my show to promote his book and ends up insulting me. I won't stand for it." The producer nods sympathetically but warns about potential backlash, suggesting an on-air apology to smooth things over. Lorraine dismisses the idea, insisting she did nothing wrong and that Piers crossed a line by implying her work is superficial. As the show resumes, she addresses the incident briefly, saying with a wry smile, "Well, that was a bit more excitement than we planned, folks. But let's move on to brighter things." The panelists, Debbie and Marcus, chime in supportively, sharing their own mild takes on the book without escalating further. Meanwhile, Piers, now outside the studio, is already posting on his social media, defending his stance and accusing Lorraine of censorship, which garners thousands of likes and retweets from his followers. The video script delves into Piers' perspective post-exit, showing him in a car ride home, calling his agent to rant about the ambush and how it proves his point about fragile egos in television. Flashbacks undercut the narrative, recalling past interactions between Piers and Lorraine, friendly appearances on each other's shows years ago, contrasting sharply with today's hostility. Analysts in the script speculate on the root cause. Perhaps Piers' book truly hit a nerve, or maybe built up resentment from Piers' public criticisms of ITV after his GMB departure. The paragraph builds tension by exploring Lorraine's internal monologue, revealing her insecurities about aging in the industry and fearing irrelevance, which fueled her outburst. As the day unfolds in the script, network executives convene an emergency meeting, debating damage control, with some suggesting a joint statement while others see it as ratings gold. Public figures weigh in, from fellow hosts like Susanna Reid offering neutral comments to celebrities tweeting solidarity with one side or the other. The script paints a vivid picture of the media frenzy, with paparazzi swarming both stars' homes, and late-night shows parodying the clash in skits. Ultimately, this segment of the video emphasizes the human element behind the glamour, showing how a simple interview can unravel into chaos when egos collide. As the news of the clash spreads like wildfire, the video script shifts focus to the broader implications for both Piers and Lorraine's careers, with experts and mock interviews discussing how such public spats can either boost or derail reputations in the cutthroat world of broadcasting. Piers, ever the provocateur, leans into the controversy by appearing on rival channels that evening, recounting the events with his trademark flair. "I went on to talk about my book, and suddenly I'm public enemy #1 for daring to suggest morning TV could do better." His interviews rack up views, turning the incident into a promotional boon for his book sales, which skyrocket on Amazon charts. Lorraine, on the other hand, faces a more mixed response while her loyal fans rally with messages of support, calling her a queen for not tolerating disrespect. Critics accuse her of thin-skinned behavior unbefitting a veteran host. In the script, we see Lorraine at home that night, scrolling through the comments on her phone, a glass of wine in hand, her husband comforting her as tears well up as she whispers, "Have I really become that out of touch?" The narrative explores her backstory, flashing back to her early days on TV, grinding through local news before hitting it big with her eponymous show, highlighting her hard work and the pressures of maintaining a wholesome image. Meanwhile, Piers hosts a live stream from his study, engaging with fans who share similar stories of being silenced for opinions, positioning himself as a free speech champion. The script includes dramatized viewer reactions, a family watching the replay, debating who was right, office workers gossiping over lunch, and even international media picking up the story, framing it as another example of British TV drama. Network bosses at ITV are portrayed in a tense boardroom scene, reviewing footage and audience metrics. Ratings spiked during the clash, but sponsor concerns loom about brand safety. They decide to issue a statement downplaying the event as passionate discussion, but privately urge Lorraine to reach out to Piers for reconciliation. She resists, emailing back that she's standing by her actions. The video delves deeper into the book's contentious chapter, quoting excerpts where Piers critiques the entertainment-first approach of shows like Lorraine's, arguing it dilutes public discourse. Supporters of Piers argue it's valid commentary, while detractors see it as sour grapes from his post-GMB exile. Social media influencers create reaction videos, some editing the clash with memes and sound effects for comic effect, amplifying the virality. In a poignant moment, the script shows Lorraine reflecting in her diary, admitting the criticism stung because it echoed her own doubts about evolving with the times. Piers, conversely, thrives on the adrenaline, planning a follow-up podcast episode titled "Kicked Off for Telling the Truth." The paragraph builds to a cliffhanger of sorts, with rumors swirling about potential legal action or a rematch interview, keeping viewers hooked on the unfolding saga. Throughout, the tone balances drama with empathy, humanizing both figures amid the spectacle. Diving into the next phase of the fallout, the video script examines the role of social media in escalating the Piers-Lorraine feud, with timelines flooded by clips, analyses, and hot takes from users across the spectrum. Hashtags trend globally, and parody accounts emerge overnight, mimicking the clash in hilarious skits that garner millions of views. Piers capitalizes on this by tweeting a series of threads dissecting the interview, complete with timestamps and quotes, rallying his base who view him as a martyr against woke censorship. Though the issue isn't ideological but personal, Lorraine's team responds more cautiously, posting a polished statement on her official page. "Today's show got heated, but I stand by creating a positive space for all guests." Behind the scenes, her publicist fields calls from tabloids, advising her to lay low while the storm passes. The narrative includes interviews with media psychologists explaining why such confrontations captivate audiences. The mix of familiarity with stars and raw emotion makes it relatable yet escapist. Flash forward show how this incident becomes a case study in PR classes, teaching about handling on-air meltdowns. Piers' book tour gains momentum, with added dates and higher attendance, as fans clamor for autographs and selfies. Asking about the Lorraine incident, he obliges with anecdotes, embellishing slightly for effect, like claiming he saw fear in her eyes when he defended his work. Lorraine, feeling the pressure, consults with friends in the industry, including former co-hosts who share similar war stories, bolstering her resolve. The script portrays a divided public. Women's groups praise her for asserting boundaries against a dominant male guest, while free speech advocates decry the ejection as authoritarian. Late-night hosts across the pond, like in the U.S., reference it in monologues, joking about British politeness cracking under pressure. ITV's internal emails leak subtly, revealing execs' frustration with both parties but excitement over the buzz. In an emotional arc, Lorraine visits her therapist in the script, unpacking years of built-up stress from maintaining a perky persona, admitting Piers' words triggered imposter syndrome. Piers, in contrast, celebrates with a dinner party, toasting to authentic journalism with allies. The video intersperses fan art, memes, and user-generated content, like edited videos setting the clash to dramatic music. Speculation mounts about crossovers. Will Piers invite Lorraine on his uncensored show, or will she address it in her autobiography? The paragraph explores cultural context, noting how UK TV differs from US in handling controversies, with less tolerance for chaos. Ultimately, it hints at resolution possibilities, like a mediated sit-down, but leaves tension simmering for dramatic effect. As days turn into weeks in the video's timeline, the script chronicles the lingering effects of the clash on Lorraine's show, with viewership initially surging from curiosity seekers but then stabilizing as the novelty wears off. Lorraine adapts by incorporating more substantive segments, perhaps subconsciously influenced by Piers' critique, like deeper dives into news stories amid the usual lifestyle tips. She addresses the incident in a follow-up episode, saying with poise, "We've all had heated moments, but let's focus on positivity moving forward," which earns applause and helps rebuild her image. Piers, meanwhile, sees his profile elevated, securing international speaking gigs and even a potential Netflix special on media wars. The narrative contrasts their coping styles, Lorraine through quiet reflection and family time, Piers via public engagement and counter-narratives. Industry insiders in the script gossip about strange relations at ITV events, where the two avoid each other like the plague. Social media evolves the story, with polls asking who was right, splitting votes evenly, fostering ongoing debates. The video includes dramatized apologies that never happen. Imagine scenarios where Piers texts Lorraine, "Sorry if I offended," but deletes it, or she drafts a tweet but holds back. Broader themes emerge: the fragility of fame, the clash between entertainment and journalism, and how personal insecurities fuel professional blow-ups. Guest appearances on other shows reference the event obliquely, with hosts careful not to take sides. Lorraine's ratings hold steady, proving her resilience, while Piers' book climbs bestseller lists, vindicating his approach. The script humanizes the aftermath with scenes of Lorraine mentoring young presenters, advising them on handling critics, and Piers reflecting in a journal about his own combative nature. Public apologies from panelists Debbie and Marcus add layers, expressing regret for not diffusing sooner. Media watchdogs analyze the ethics. Was kicking off a guest justified, or does it stifle discourse? The paragraph builds empathy by showing both as products of their eros, Lorraine the warm, accessible icon, Piers the bold truth seeker. As the buzz fades, hints of reconciliation surface, like mutual friends urging a private meeting. The video ends this segment on a hopeful note, suggesting that from conflict can come growth, even in the spotlight. Wrapping up the epic tale in the video script, the long-term legacy of the Piers-Morgan-Lorraine Kelly clash cements itself as a memorable moment in TV history, often cited in compilations of most shocking on-air feuds alongside classics like Oprah's Tom Cruise jump or Piers' own GMB walkout. Both stars move forward stronger, with Lorraine embracing a hybrid format that blends fun with depth, attracting new demographics, and Piers expanding his empire into podcasts and writing, using the incident as fodder for future content. Reconciliation eventually occurs off-camera, as teased in the narrative via a quiet coffee meet-up where apologies are exchanged, laughter shared over the absurdity, and mutual respect reaffirmed, though never publicly admitted to preserve their brands. The script reflects on how such events humanize celebrities, reminding viewers that behind the glamour are real emotions and vulnerabilities. Social media archives the clash eternally, with annual anniversary posts keeping it alive. In a meta twist, the video itself becomes part of the discourse, sparking discussions on whether dramatizations like this glorify or critique media sensationalism. Ultimately, the story arc concludes with a message of resilience. In the fast-paced world of television, clashes may erupt, but the show must go on, and sometimes, they even lead to positive change. The camera fades out on a split screen of Piers and Lorraine in their respective elements, thriving despite or because of the fiery encounter.